Welcome, everyone. Good boy, Tucker. This is learning at its most fun.
Good morning to some, good afternoon to others. Thank you for joining us for yet another Building Your Tech Stack with Redtail CRM. Today we have our friends from Income Lab joining us today to talk about dynamic financial planning and the value that that can create for a financial advisor and their client. And so we know that retirement income planning is one of the nastiest, hardest problems that we face in financial planning. So introducing Income Lab. Income Lab is helping advisors navigate this problem with their clients by bringing new research, concepts, and clarity to the conversation. And so bringing some clarity to today's conversation, we have Justin Fitzpatrick, the Chief Innovation Officer at Income Lab. Justin, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming, Justin. To kind of kick things off, we wanted to just sort of start every Building Your Tech Stack with 3 questions. First, we want to know about you. We want to know about Income Lab and obviously the value that you create for advisors. And so let's start with you. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, maybe how you got started in this industry and how you became the Chief Innovation Officer of Income Lab?
Sure. So I'm an academic by training. Actually thought I would be a professor for my whole life. So I did a PhD at MIT, spent some time teaching and doing research before moving into the financial services industry. So I'd say that still has a heavy impact on the kinds of things I do and maybe even the way I present. So, but at Income Lab, I'm one of the co-founders, and really Income Lab grew out of research. So I used to lead a team of financial planning consultants and decided to do some research on kind of the best ideas in retirement income planning. And as probably a lot of people on this webinar know, there's a lot of great research on kind of how to best serve clients, how to best do planning, both from academics and practitioners. But we found that there was a big gap between kind of those ideas and ways that advisors could really deliver and scale ongoing dynamic advice to clients. And so that's why we built Income Lab. So I head up a lot of our research and development efforts. So you'll see, a lot of research and writing by me out there. And then I'm also heavily involved with product development.
Awesome, Justin. And then if you could just maybe summarize sort of what does Income Lab do? What problem or value do you create for an advisor or their client?
Yeah, so Income Lab is specialized retirement income planning software. So we're laser focused on retirement income. So typically advisors use us in their tech stack, alongside maybe a more holistic planning technology. And what we do is we help you produce, deliver, and actually follow truly dynamic retirement income plans. And what we mean by that is retirement income plans that have change built right in. So I think it's intuitive to advisors and clients that, even though you might produce an income plan that sort of says you'll do the same thing for the rest of your life, we all know that isn't really true, right? We'll make adjustments. But income plans built and tracked and managed using our software have the change built right in. So there's a plan for change. And we'll see some of that in the demonstration.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's actually an excellent transition. So tell us a little bit more about dynamic income planning and maybe even lead us into a demo of how Income Lab works.
Sure. So I'm signed in here as kind of a demo advisor, and I guess I'll start out. We're really excited to have this partnership with Redtail. Obviously a very widely used system in the financial advisor world. We only work with financial advisors. We're B2B software. So this is an exciting partnership, and it's also really important because in order to do dynamic, ongoing planning and monitoring, and the other thing we focus on a lot at Income Lab is automating as much as possible the business processes that can help you deliver that kind of service to clients, the ongoing monitoring and management. And so having updated data is kind of a key to that, to kind of smoothing both the data entry, but maybe more importantly, the ongoing upkeep. So I have already set up my Redtail integration here, but all that I do is go to integrations, hit add an integration, choose Redtail, click link, give it a name. There are occasions where people might have more than one integration. So that's a place to be able to distinguish those, but you're using your Redtail username and password is all that you need. And then you'll immediately see it show active. If you don't, then you can reach out to us and see what's going wrong there. But let me go into an example household here, and this is kind of our version of what you might call a one-page retirement income plan. So not necessarily everything a client would ever want to know, but the sorts of things that a client would want to know on an ongoing basis. And so these folks, it looks like, have about $1.4 million in the portfolio that we're planning with. And we'll go through some of what leads to this, but the plan itself is calling for about $11,600 in monthly income. Okay, so just some nice kind of dollar-based measures for the client. But the thing you'll notice here that is really different is that there is an income adjustment plan already in front of the client, right? So I can see that actually if this $1.4 million account goes up by just 5% in this case, this plan would actually call for a spending increase. So it would say, hey, we started out, risk was at this, particular level, but actually risk has gone down enough that you can afford to kind of live a little. Now it's a small amount, a monthly increase, but still really good news for the client. On the other side is the income decrease plan, right? So you could think of this as kind of guardrails on your retirement income. This is, like I said, this is part of the plan itself. So advisors have total control over kind of where these guardrails are. And they're always built as what we call total risk or holistic risk guardrails. So taking everything into account that's in the plan, the client's ages and longevity expectations, their, cash flows and Social Security, things like that. Everything's built in, inflation adjustments and what have you. And you can see this plan, like a lot of plans, is actually pretty typical, is designed to be asymmetrical. It's designed to have the upside be closer than the downside. And that's just because a lot of retirees, a lot of clients would be risk averse and would prefer to have the upside closer than the downside. And so the downside here says, well, if your total portfolio that you're using in the plan goes down by about 23%, this plan would call for a decrease. It happens to be the same size here as the increase, but that doesn't need to be true. So again, all of this, the analytics behind this are quite complex, and the inputs are all entirely up to the advisor. But the data for the client are clear, they're dollar-based, they're kind of understandable. But I did notice that we didn't quite hit the client's desired spending level of $12,000 after taxes. And looking at this $1.4 million with a client, I might see that maybe I missed something on data entry. Another place you can see that is we have kind of this dynamic visualization of the client's financial life at a variety of levels, from highest level, income, assets, expenses, liabilities. I can go into some subsections. Maybe I go all the way to the details, and I see, I have 4 accounts here, but that's not everything. So the place where you're going to access those linked accounts is here. When I'm building the household, I have several steps, and an important one is assets. Got these 4 accounts, but if I hit add linked account, search for the household, I might have quite a few households. In my example account, I actually don't. But okay, I missed a brokerage account here. We're going to add that. And now the key is that if I'm working in Income Lab, maybe a month or two has gone by, I want to make sure these numbers are updated. I can hit update linked accounts. You would actually see differences then in that ledger that you saw. But maybe more importantly, when you have an account that you have set to be tracked on Income Lab, once a month, we actually update all those accounts. And so we'll pull new data, make sure things are as up to date as possible. And we'll tap you on the shoulder if if a plan that you've created is actually calling for any kind of change. Okay, so you'll see I went from 1.4 million.
I just wanted to be clear on that. So the accounts came in from our Redtail linked accounts. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And you said that those get updated once a month?
Once a month. So it's typically, in fact, we're about to do it. So it's typically about 5 to 7 business days into the month. That's just because we consume a lot of data, including economic data and so on. And that's how long it takes us to get that data at the end of the month. So it's kind of a nice cadence because, even if you haven't done anything, you can log in and it's going to be at most, a month stale and typically less than that. You can always click, update to update things manually. And then any plans that are set to be monitored, those are always going to be done once a month. And you'll have a list of any plans that you have that are calling for a change.
Got it. And then you also mentioned a tap on the shoulder. Does that come as a form of like an email to me or a notification within Income Lab? How does that happen?
Right now, it's just in the app itself. You'll have a list of, and I can actually show you. But right here, I would see the number of plans that need attention. We are working on some email notifications that you can turn off. We don't want to, bug people if they don't want those emails.
All right, awesome. Thank you for clearing that up.
Sure. Yeah, and those need attention. Like I said, that could be things like, okay, well, I've hit one of these guardrails. Things have gotten better. Things have gotten worse. And typically, that's not all that frequent. But it could also be something like an inflation adjustment, right? So we plan in inflation adjusted terms, just like any good platform does. But we actually track inflation. And so you can set in these plans, say, hey, I'll make inflation adjustments, anytime, for example, my purchasing power has decreased by, call it 5%, right? You decide, hey, what's the size of that inflation adjustment that's worthwhile administratively and worth calling the client? Well, we'll tap you on the shoulder for things like that as well. We'll tap you on the shoulder if, maybe you're planning to start Social Security, to delay Social Security. I believe these folks, that is true. So yeah, John has already started Social Security, but Mary will be starting it looks like in 2027. So that would be another tap on the shoulder, right? Because there would be a need to potentially adjust their portfolio withdrawals, right? To counteract that increase in outside income. Okay, so it looks like I actually have good news for the clients here. So whoops, I missed an account. Now we're up to 1.8, and actually our proposed income is now above the desired level. And I can see kind of the full income analysis here. If I want more details, I can see there's a certain amount of portfolio withdrawals. For example, I'm taking about $9,000 a month from the portfolio. If I want to dive in a little deeper, I can go into the portfolio withdrawals and see where I'm taking that money from. So for example, I can see that my plan is actually calling for me to delay withdrawals from this 401k. Okay, so let's go back to the main plan. Once I have this kind of short-term plan in place, okay, here's what we're spending now, here's what would cause an adjustment. It would be natural for me as a client to ask, okay, but give me a longer-term view. If I'm embarking on a dynamic retirement income experience, right, where you're gonna call me as as a client and tell me when you suggest taking income, pay raises and pay cuts, essentially. Paint a longer term picture of that for me. And this portion of the planning is very heavy analytically, and so that's why it takes a second to load here. But it's essentially starting this family out on this dynamic path and having the family take pay increases when they can and pay decreases when they must, from according to the plan. Again, all of those parameters can be changed, and so we're able to paint for them a picture. In this case, a very bright picture because, like I mentioned, this is kind of a relatively conservative plan. This is a family who really doesn't like bad news. They prefer to start out retirement conservatively. And it looks like in 98% of the cases in this analysis, this household actually would have ended up taking more income over their lifetime than they initially planned for. And in 2% of the cases, they would have ended up with less total income. On average, though, and this is crucial, now this is a particularly conservative plan. There are certainly plans where that number could be higher, 5, 10%, even more. But on average, when they were below plan, they were 1% below plan. In the worst case, they were 2% below plan. So again, very, very conservative plan in this case. And just so you know, the plan, right, so was this, right? It was having this rental income, these 2 Social Securities, and then taking portfolio withdrawals over time to fill in the gaps. You'll also notice that they're following what's called the retirement smile. So they're planning to spend more now and sort of taper off in their total spending in the future as they age into their 80s and 90s. So you may also have heard that called the go-go years, the slow-go years, and the no-go years. So that's built into this plan as well. You can also set expectations for your clients about the actual adjustments. So not the total experience, but the individual adjustments. Okay, on this plan, on average, the cadence of those upward adjustments was about every 2 years. On the downside, again, much less likely. So maybe once or twice in a lifetime on average. The next thing that is often on people's minds, and the last thing I'll demonstrate here is, once I know that this is my income plan and that a certain amount of it is portfolio withdrawals, I might want to ask, well, what would be the best way to source those withdrawals, keeping taxes in mind? So I can actually go to my tax center, and I think I have one that's already set up for you, so that, because again, those can take a few seconds. And what this does is it takes that entire plan and it runs through all of the most commonly considered ways to source portfolio withdrawals. So I'll show you some of those. Taking them proportionally, taking them taxable, tax-deferred, tax-free, doing bracket management, so filling up particular ordinary income brackets with Roth conversions when possible, runs all of these and ranks them from a tax perspective. And on this initial page, it just by default shows you a comparison of the approach that had the highest net income, the lowest total taxes, and compares it to taxable, tax-deferred, tax-free, which is kind of a rule of thumb that you might see out there. And you can see here for this family, doing some Roth conversions would potentially be very important. So they could potentially save almost $600,000, adjusted for inflation in taxes over the life of this plan, just by doing Roth conversions. I can explore that particular Roth conversion plan. And again, this is all no extra data entry. So it's just taking the plan you already built. And I can see here, if I'm bracket managing to the 32% bracket, I'm doing some sizable Roth conversions up through 2027. But maybe that's not, maybe 32%, those Roth conversions are pretty hefty. And my client doesn't have the stomach for those. I could bump it down. Maybe let's look at the 24% bracket. Okay, now they'll extend out through 2030. And my Roth conversions are about $100,000 less. So there's lots and lots of detail here. I'm certainly not going to take the rest of the time here to go over this, but often you can dive as deep or stay as shallow as you'd like here. But it's really set up, always to be focusing on retirement income planning and all the places where a client can see value. So both in terms of having good news for them on what income could look like, what adjustments could look like, and also on helping them understand the potential tax implications of different behavior in retirement. And again, these sorts of things you can also see in this kind of dynamic mind map of the plan. So this is sort of another place to go with the client to help them understand what their plan's actually calling for.
Awesome, Justin. Well, thank you so much for giving us the demo today. Just to kind of recap, I just wanted to make sure I'm following along okay here today. So it starts with bringing in the household and the accounts in from Redtail. That go ahead and initiates the household within Income Lab. Then we can bring in that account data as well that's being synced with Redtail. And then from there, we can go ahead and draft up our dynamic retirement income plan, where we can actually see using a variety of dashboards how much a client should be taking or how much they need to maybe reduce or increase that amount of distribution from their retirement account. And then, of course, you have the tax savings on top of it to just tie it all together. That sound pretty much what we were saying today?
That's exactly right. Yep. There's kind of two main sections to the planning. One is the dynamic income plan, lots of ways to kind of view that and provide context to clients, including kind of the dashboard that I showed with the adjustments. Also this we call Lifehub, which is this interactive visualization tool where you can kind of explore the plan through time, right? I can see that, maybe I haven't started Social Security yet in 2022, but okay, 2033, I have it by then, I don't have one here, but if I had a mortgage or something, it might disappear. So just different ways to help clients really get into their income plan, understand the dynamic nature of it, the ongoing monitoring nature of it, right? Which is a way to improve client engagement and kind of trust in the plan as well.
I like it. Thanks, Justin. And so if there's anybody on here who likes what they see or wants to maybe learn more, where can we go to get started with Income Lab?
So probably the easiest place is to go to our website, which is incomelaboratory.com, or you can just Google Income Lab. And we have lots of videos and resources. Like I mentioned, we do a lot of kind of thought leadership in retirement income planning. We're really at the kind of the intersection of research and practice, financial advice practice, and technology. So you'll see a lot of that. But if you just click contact us, you'll be able to drop us a line. There actually is a special that we have for Redtail users, for advisors who use Redtail, where the first 3 months, if you're interested, is at extremely discounted rate of $20 a month. But you're also able to contact our team for demos and so on. If you're just interested in kind of having a look before taking a dive into that.
Awesome. Thanks, Justin. Some real exciting stuff you built here, and I'm excited to see that Redtail households and accounts can easily integrate into the platform that just is going to speed up that process of getting that client to that dynamic retirement income. So some awesome stuff. And again, thank you for your time.
Thank you. And thanks everybody for coming.
Have a great day, everyone. Bye.
Thanks so much for joining us today for this particular session. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to give us a call at 800-206-5030, option 3 for support, or just shoot us an email over to support@redtailtechnology.com. Thanks a lot and have a great day.